Hello and welcome to O2 Inside live from Twickenham Stadium as international rugby is back. Eddie Jones and his England team are going to be training for the next half hour or so. But before we cast our eyes over the training session, I'm going to take you inside the O2 box and reintroduce yourself to a friend of mine. He used to be my captain. He played for England 66 times. He is the former England captain. It's Chris Robshaw, everyone.
Go on, Robbo! Yes, Robbo!
Robbo, great to see you. What an applause you got there, mate. How does it feel for you to be back here at Twickenham today?
It feels pretty special. It's been a while since I've been back here, but it's always nice when you come back, you see the place, and there are so many fond memories. Every time you look out, even walking past kind of the Golden Lion Gate today, it was kind of, you look at it and it's a place you always want to be, you always want to play. So now to be back here with yourself, O2 Inside Line, it should be a good day.
It certainly should be, and of course this is your time, so if any of you fans have got any questions at any point, please leave them in the Facebook section below. It's really important that you get involved. Robbo, tell us, season's finished for lots of teams, but how do you reflect on it?
Yeah, from an individual point of view, we've enjoyed the season. I think from a model, of course, we all know we had the COVID break, the restart, all that kind of stuff, and I think the teams have done as well as they can, kind of rotating the squads, getting as many players to play as possible. And look, you look at the two teams in the final, both Wasps and Exeter, the two most attacking sides, and fair play to them to go on there, and I'm sure it'll be a fantastic game here on the weekend. But yeah, look, you always want to be pushing for silverware. Unfortunately, we couldn't this year from a personal point of view. But no, I think it's been a good product, and I think for the amount of players coming through the next generation, that younger generation, we'll see a lot of them out here today.
Yeah, we certainly will do. I mean, English rugby seems to be in a really good place. We saw the final last night, got another one tonight. To have two English teams in the two European tournaments, I mean, you've got to be really positive about that, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly that, mate. Exactly. You want to be challenging for silverware, and I think as your teams can do that, then that's for all the better, and hopefully we can win a Six Nations kind of when we go against Italy. We've got a little game against the Barbars, so I'm doing a bit of kind of a scouting mission here today, seeing who's going to be playing, what type of moves they're going to be doing and all that. But no, that should be a good bit of fun to come play here against England, which will be quite a strange feeling. I've never thought I'd play against England or play against Harlequins or anything like that, so to do it, yeah, it's going to be a bit surreal for sure.
Robert, you're looking very lean, looking very fresh, of course, as you always have done right throughout. But are you happy being set up here? Would you fancy yourself down pitch side training with the boys as they're chucking a little frisbee about?
Well, at the moment, yeah, like you said, they're playing a bit of frisbee, so I wouldn't mind. But in all seriousness, when people say, what do you miss about England? Of course, it's running out in front of a full stadium, singing the national anthem. But it's these training sessions. You don't miss the feeling before these training sessions where you're a bit anxious, you're a bit like, what am I going to have to put my body through? But when you look back on your career and you think about how hard you've worked in these sessions and the result it gets you towards the weekend, because also when you're all hanging, you're all blowing, you look at each other and you get each other through, and then someone will do something and you'll laugh about it after the session, and it will just be one of those things that will just pick you up, and you'll have that kind of camaraderie that be like, oh, remember when we did this session, and you a bit of a laugh how hard it was, and you've kind of been there and done it.
You look at these kind of sessions and the guys are just going through their paces, just warming up, just getting into it. How important is it to have that fun element, especially when lots of these players have come from clubs up and down the country, have been rivals for the last 15 months or so, now having to become one collective unit under the banner of England? Yeah,
that's the biggest thing. You want to break down these club barriers, these rivalries, whatever it be, to make sure, because everyone wants to play for England. And when you're there, you want to win for England and you want to do as well as possible for England. And that's what Eddie's so good at. He's so good at man managing and kind of getting the best out of people, whether that be in training or off the field. I know in my time it was Danny Kerr and Jamie George and Elliot Daly who were kind of in charge of that social committee. I think it's Jamie and Elliot now who are in charge of those kind of social aspects. So we would have little things like, I'm an England player, get me out of here. So we would have kind of someone come in with a load of tarantulas and snakes and all this kind of stuff, and you'd have to be up there holding them and getting different people. And then it's just a little bit of fun, because when you're in a hotel, it's not like the old days where you're going out drinking all the time, you're going to pubs and restaurants. Yeah. You're in the hotel, you're spending a lot of time together, and I'm sure even more so in this period where they're going to be in micro bubbles. I don't know the period, how long they're going to have to stay in the hotel for, but they're going to put themselves under some stress. So yeah, it's trying to break down those barriers and have some fun and as much as you can. So yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of pressure on Jamie and Elliot to entertain the boys.
Exactly. Robert, it's great to hear from you. And of course, if you do have any questions, please do get involved. But before we hear more from Chris Robshaw, I'm going to pass down to Nathan, who's pitchside with the England team manager, Richard Hill.
Richard Hill, thank you very much for joining us on the England Rugby YouTube and Facebook Live. You're just watching intently there. Can you give us an idea what's going on with is it Ultimate Frisbee?
Yes, I can go through some great speeches around. This is all rugby preparation, but this is part of the warm-up. A key part of anything like this is just a bit of fun. This is very much the basic level of warm-up. Players will have come out and done a bit of individual, but Ultimate Frisbee seems to be the key one this week. They're getting much better. They're not so much grabbing. It's got more of a natural feel to it.
Can you just give us an idea and a run-through, I guess, of the session, what we're going to see today on the live?
Well, yeah. Firstly, good morning. Welcome to this virtual training session. Today is twofold. It's about the preparation for our matches that are coming up against the Barbarians, Italy. Finish off the Six Nations, but also the Autumn Nations League. As well as familiarisation. We have new players that are coming into this group, players that haven't been to Twickenham before, so it's great that they are able to see the stadium, the changing rooms, the flow of the stadium, but we've also got the social distancing measures that are going on, which players that have got 99 caps aren't familiar with. So whereas all players would normally fit in one change room, we are having to spread out. So it's great that they get that understanding. But then going back to the rugby side of things, I mean, today is very much defence orientated. John Mitchell will be leading on much of this session. With new players coming in, freshening up what we're trying to do. There's been a tweaking of principles, organisation. So the players have really got to get used to the understanding of what is expected of them on a defence game day.
And how important is something like this, getting out of the Lensbury in a training session, a training pitch, to be at a stadium? Although obviously there's no fans here, which we all would like, but being in this environment, in a stadium where you'll be on a game day and doing something like this.
At the moment we're just on the second of 2 mini camps. So for the players, they're just lasting 3 days at a time. But proper, almost like test match replication starts on Monday for the Barbarians game. But players are getting used to the being in the Lensbury club at the moment. That we've been looked after incredibly well, but it is a bubble. And whilst they may have only been in a couple of days, it's always good to even get on a bus and come with some completely different. Twickenham, is a special place for all rugby players. As I say, a lot of players will be familiar with Twickenham, but we will have players who are coming into the stadium for their first ever pitch side visit.
Richard Hill, thank you for your time. We'll let you go do the day job.
Thank you.
Brilliant to hear from Richard Hill there, as well as him donning the Arsene Wenger team manager's jacket as well. But some lovely insights into the importance of training at Twickenham, getting up to test match intensity. And we're certainly going to delve into some of that. But we've had some questions in from some of the fans. And first one here is from Teresa King. It says, Chris, how much will you miss big games at HQ?
Definitely. It's why you play. This is why you play, to go out there and play for your country in big stadiums. And for me, it was always like singing the national anthem. Because where you are, you're on the 50-metre line and kind of 20, 30 metres in front of you. You can all see your family, so you've got all the guys kind of looking for their families, looking around. And I remember I came here when I was young and I was sat in the gods, kind of looking down and kind of picturing that. And you can kind of just see the players and they're quite small. So to be on the pitch and to be out there playing is kind of why you play the game. And then to challenge yourself as a professional against the best players in the world. That's what you want to do. And then, like you said, you have a good record here, good results and all that. But yeah, this is the thing I'm going to miss the most for sure. Okay,
another question. Who are you excited most about within the squad? In fact, I'm going to put that one to one side for a second because we're going to have a look at the squad in just a few moments. Dave Atkins said, Chris, would you consider coaching in the future? Good question that, Dave.
That is a good question. You know what, I'm still not sure about that. I quite like the idea of mentoring in terms of helping players develop, helping them with little bits. I think to be a very good coach, you have to be very detailed and very analytical of it, and you have to love it. And I think a lot of players go into coaching just because they kind of might think it's an easy option, but to be a really good coach, you have to really love it and kind of give it all your time. Whereas I think you look at some people who are almost, like I say, a good mentor in terms of they know what to do. They might not know quite how to break the skill down, but they can explain it. They can kind of give you examples, give you demonstrations, give you drills. So I quite like that type of thing. But I think, look, never say never. Who knows what the future holds?
Yeah, exactly that. Keep your options open. It's really interesting to hear from Richard Hill just talking about why it's so important to be at Twickenham. In your words, why do you think it is important for this squad to be able to train here? Because they've got wonderful facilities, whether it be at Lensbury, Pennyhill. What's the added benefit?
It's special. You come here, and I think in particular now, when they're going to be playing here, there's going to be no one here as well.
Yes.
So there's a very different feeling when you come to Twickenham like there is today and there's no one here. It almost feels a little bit eerie, and you can almost see every individual seat. Whereas when the stadium's full, it kind of all just merges into one kind of mass noise and mass kind of volume of people. But it's getting people comfortable with being at the stadium, getting people comfortable changing in change rooms. We actually, when I was in the England side, every Thursday or Friday, we would actually do our team run in England kit. Okay. So people actually get used to putting the kit on, training in it, seeing what it's like. So that when you get to the game on a Saturday, it's not all completely different. We wouldn't actually always come here, but he said because as a squad we were getting more experience and we were getting more used to being there, we didn't need to. So I think if this group, and as you look, there's a lot of new people into the squad, as we'll go through in a minute. So a lot of them might not have played at Twickenham or even been to Twickenham before, so it's getting them comfortable on the pitch. There's 6 games coming up, so I'm sure the bulk of the squad will get used. So again, it's making them as comfortable as possible. You
just mentioned a load of games coming up. You know, Eddie Jones has only been able to get his hands on the squad for the best part of a week. What will he be doing in those early days? Is it fitness, tactics? What's his real focus?
So again, it's just getting everyone up to speed straight away. He'll, of course, he will have had a group of players that he knows, and just before you kind of coming into camp, he kind of gives you a couple of fitness sessions just so you can get up to speed, because a lot of players do come to the international setup and get injured, unfortunately, because the step up is that step above the Premiership, it's that step above Europe. So he wants players to be ready. So he's kind of, and the S&C guys are giving people training sessions to give little top-ups. So it might not be specific fitness stuff here, it's getting everyone up to the way England want to play, their patterns, their lineouts, their plays. Because generally, guys are understanding, they can switch on, they can change between systems quite quickly, and that's why they get to this level. So again, it's getting everyone on the same page straight away, and yeah, there will be some top-ups in the fitness department, post-session, during the session. But a lot of this training session now is fitness-based, and it's putting your skills under pressure. And there's actually a dreaded clock, if you can see over the far side, which we...
Tell me about this dreaded clock.
We used to always kind of joke that in these hard sessions, it would never go down, because it's supposed to be every drill in the session is done to the minute, so there's no time wasted. There's no kind of, at the club, you might do a drill and then you chat about it for a minute, you're kind of chatting on the run, so it's putting you under pressure, it's tiring you out. And we would joke that we were kind of in a drill and the clock would just be added minutes instead of going down. But yeah, it's one of those things which the clock is still over there and it's still going strong somehow.
Yeah, you can see the boys still warming up, being put through their paces, which is good to see. The one thing that we always talk about with this England team, and Eddie Jones in particular, is intensity. You mentioned the step up from club level to international level. Talk us through just how intense, how chaotic, how ferocious some of these training sessions are.
Yeah, they are, and look, every now and then things do boil over and people push each other because everyone's competitive. Everyone wants to be in that starting 15 or that match 23 to play on the weekend, and this today will be we call it game training. So it is like a game, and Eddie's big philosophy is we train hard then we play.
Yeah.
So that when we do get into a game, if we do lose a man for 10 minutes or whatever it be, then we are fit enough to cope. I remember we played Argentina here, and unfortunately Elliot got sin-binned, I think, or sent off in the first 5 minutes, unfortunately. He collided with someone in the air, things went wrong, and we played pretty much 75 minutes, a man down, and managed to win that game. And that's why he trains and puts people under so much pressure in training, that if things do like this, and players have to cover different positions, if you have to work that little bit harder in training, you are ready for it.
You certainly are. A man that can cover plenty of positions out on the field is Anthony Watson, who's pitch side with Nathan.
Anthony Watson, thank you very much for joining us on the England Rugby Facebook and YouTube Live. Getting a few comments there from your fellow players?
Yeah, Owen's just, he's busy training, so I think he's trying to distract me a little bit, but we're good.
This is a chance, obviously, to see you at training. Obviously, get an insight into camp. How's it been the past few days?
Yeah, it's been great. It's always great to meet up back with the lads, and obviously everything's a little bit different with COVID and stuff, but the vibe and stuff around the group is the same. We're all excited to be here, and obviously wish I was training, but the boys will get stuck in and enjoy it today.
And take us inside the difference, I guess, the camp, because there's lots of different protocols obviously you have to do, and there's a games room as well. How's that been going down with the players?
Yeah, the games room is unbelievable. There's been a few FIFA games. Myself and Mako took down Owen and Ollie Lawrence the other day, which was sensational. I was just telling them about me slapping you up on FIFA. But no, it's been good.
And I guess just the preparations as well, as much as we're kind of back here at Twickenham, so it's building towards game day, the Barbarians game, the Italy game, and then the Autumn Nations Cup. What will the preparations be like in terms of what you're actually doing for those games? Is it conditioning at the moment? Are you going into tactical things you want to improve?
I think some of it will be conditioning based. So maybe the first few days. I wasn't here last week, but I think obviously you've got to get back up to speed with the intensity and stuff like that. So conditioning your body to run at the speeds that are required here and the intensity that's required here, and then it'll pretty quickly shift into tactical stuff. But it's always a pretty good balance here. You need to be able to do things under pressure. And the pressure I mean is doing things fast and at test match intensity. So you've obviously got to condition your body to be able to do that, and then mentally do it in training so that you're ready for the games.
And then just I guess in terms of being back in camp, it's been March since you've all been together as England. You've just come back in this week. Has there been new ideas from the coaches, kind of different philosophies, integration of new players that have come in? How's all that sort of been?
Yeah, integration of new players is something that we deal with pretty well. The senior boys, Owen, Mako, those guys are always world class with that. So I think that they bed in pretty seamlessly, to be honest with you. In terms of the change of philosophies and stuff, yeah, there's a little bit of a shift. Obviously things have changed since we were together, but it's always about moving in the right direction, and we'll continue to do that.
The England captain giving you a bit of a view, so Anthony Watson will let you go and get away from Owen. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
Great to hear from Anthony Watson there. I thought he came up with some really interesting stuff, and I want to touch upon integration of some of those young fellas. You look right throughout this England team, so many experienced heads, but how important is it that some of these young guys get an opportunity over the next 6 months or so?
Yeah, it is, and I think with these young guys as well, it's important to make them feel comfortable. You want guys to come in and play like they have, of course, raise their game, but play like they do for their clubs, because that's what's got them here in the end. And I always like the way people rotate, where they don't rotate the whole squad, but they might put a young nine with a forward and a foul, or between a Billy and a foul, or something like that. So you're not making 15 changes, you're making probably 4 changes throughout the squad, and you're giving kind of maybe like a Ribbons with a Mara in the second row, or something like this, where you've got an experienced head to guide them through. Because look, there might be a moment in the game where things don't quite go smoothly for them, and then it's having that arm around them and just saying, look, that's done, we've got to move forward now and focus on your next role.
Yeah, that is massively important. Chris, we've had another question in from Clock Burling. Chris, are you coming back for a visit when we have a full stadium?
I hope so.
Because the plans for the future, I mean, you're here for a little while, you'll be back at Twickenham next week to play against England for the Barbarians, and then you're jetting off, you're chasing the sun. Let us know where you're off to. Yeah,
so I'm off to San Diego Legion to play over there. So again, I go mid-January, with their season's been pushed back a little bit because of the whole situation. But yeah, look, I'll be back towards the end of next year and spend bits here and there. So look, I would love to come back when stadiums are full and all that. And my plan was that there might be a couple of fans in here playing the Barbars, unfortunately not to be. But yeah, look, I'll definitely be back. And of course, being from Harlequins kind of over the road as well, it's a good reason to come back as well. So.
Mate, just focusing on the training once again, the guys, you can see that they're going through those gears. How do you replicate test match intensity within a training session?
It's tough. It is tough, and that's why the S&Cs, and it's more the backroom staff that probably don't get spoken enough about, which get the guys in the best possible position. So a lot of them, you'll see them kind of wrestling on the side, doing kind of down ups or burpees, little things like this, and then they're straight into a drill. So Steve Borthwick, with my time here, would be doing little things like that, and then you're straight into doing 5 line-outs on the spin, and you've got to maul one, and you've got to run certain plays. So you're tired, you're under fatigue, you're not thinking correctly, And can you still execute those skills under pressure? And that's why, because look, you're never going to get the same match intensity as when you come out, you're playing at Wales or New Zealand or someone like that here, because it is different, and you're playing against each other. You're here at 10 o'clock in the morning, it's different. But how do you get the best out of yourself? How do you get the best out of the team?
Eddie Jones, he announced his squad just recently, so let's have a quick look at that. Quality squad, as you can see, and as you can imagine, especially the competition which we've seen in the Premiership. Let's start with the forward. Just pick out a couple of key individuals that have impressed you or caught your eye.
Yeah, look, being a back row, I like the look of the back row coming through, and I think I'm glad I'm kind of moving overseas at this time, because you look at the depth of English back row, and there's this wave of them coming through. We look here: Curry, Dombrandt, Ludlam, and that's before you talk about Billy, Ted Hill. There's so many guys, Underhill. There are so many players out there. You could pick 3 from about 12 players, and you would say that's an international quality back row. So for me, that's what's hugely exciting about English rugby. Probably a couple of years ago, we had that wave of second rows, didn't we?
Yes.
Where you could pick any of them and they were incredible. Now it seems like that back row is that position. And there's so many players to come through, and there's a huge amount of excitement there with that experience of Billy. But you also look at the experience of both Sam, Underhill and Curry.
Yeah.
They're both, I think, about 23 years old. And they've been around the world, they've been in World Cup finals, Six Nations, all that kind of stuff, and they've battled with the best, and then you've got that wave underneath them.
Looking at that front row as well, a couple of new faces, Joe Hayes from Leicester Tigers, as well as Simon Kerrod, a guy that you know very well at Harlequin. So just give us a bit of insight into Simon Kerrod.
Yeah, I think he's done extremely well. He's coming, he's one of those guys who just gets on with things. He's he's got an aggressive scrummager, an aggressive carrier, and it's just what your prop wants to be. Carries hard, tackles hard, hits mauls, hits rucks, scrums well. Doesn't do the overly flashy things. He's probably not in the same mould as like a Mako or someone. I know they're opposite sides, but in terms of the handling ability. But in terms of getting you over the gain line, and he's taken this opportunity, I think, since Carl Sinclair's moved on to Bristol. There's been an opening for someone, and Simon's done extremely well coming back, and I'm so pleased to see him out there, and I hope he can do himself proud and get himself a game or two.
Absolutely. Let's head down pitch side where Nathan is with Charlie Yules.
Charlie Yules, thank you for joining us on the England Rugby Facebook and YouTube Live. Enjoying a bit of training there. Just give us a feeling of what it's like being back in camp in the international environment.
Yeah, it's good. Obviously, it's been a long time where there would have been a summer tour. Obviously, COVID meant that didn't go ahead. So, yeah, it's good to see everyone. Obviously, we've had a long time away from rugby, and then we've had a long time together in our club environments, but it's nice to be back and see everyone.
We just had Anthony Watson getting a bit of abuse from Owen Farrell on the sidelines while he was doing his interview. There seems to be a really good kind of mood in the camp, and almost back at school type feel that you're all seeing each other after such a long time.
I think so. Obviously, the way the world is at the moment, there's not too much you can do. So to have the privilege to come together, train together, be back in this environment is it's an enjoyable place to be.
You've been part of this England set for quite a while now. Some new faces in here, some uncapped faces, 1 or 2 new faces have impressed in the Premiership. How's it been integrating them into this environment?
I think it's always a credit to the environment that anyone that does come in feels pretty settled within a day or two. Obviously, we spend a lot of time together when we are in camp, so you get to know people pretty quickly. You have meals with them, you sit down, you drink coffee with them, all those things. And so, yeah, like all the guys that have come in have been great. And then you kind of half know everyone from around the league and playing against each other anyway. So, yeah, and it's been good.
There's been a lot of time for the coaches to prep and get you into this camp. It's been so many months off for England. Can you just give us an idea, I guess, some of the insights and ideas that they've had they want to put on the squad?
Sure, yeah. I think, always looking to evolve our game, and like you say, there's been a long period of time and the coaches have been bored and able to look back and trawl through the footage and stuff. So, but no, there's some new ideas of how we want to attack, how we want to defend. We've seen the Premierships change slightly since lockdown. So the way that refs are now interpreting the breakdown laws, all those type of things are, where this team wants to go. We need to constantly be growing and evolving and changing, and that's part of what we've experienced since we've come back.
I'm sure you'd love to be out there, obviously training and running around at Twickenham, but I guess just being back here, the home of England rugby, international rugby is getting closer. It all kind of feel like it's building towards that Barbars game, Six Nations, Northern Nations Cup.
Yeah, it does. And like you come into camp and that you've just got that excitement. Like it's different to your club. You don't come in and do a 12-week pre-season with no game at the end. When you're in, you've got 1 or 2 weeks, and then you're into games, and obviously that's why we play. So yeah, I just want to get back out there now and get playing.
Thank you very much for your time, Charlie.
No worries. Cheers.
Good to hear from Charlie Yules there. Spoke a lot about integration and intensity, and Eddie Jones challenging and pushing this team forward. And I think when we look at the squad again, when we look at the back lines, In terms of creativity, that's where we'll see lots of that from. Who stood out for you within this England squad?
Yeah, I think, look, there's a huge opportunity in that kind of 13 channel. Manu Tuilagi unfortunately got injured quite recently. Ollie Lawrence, look, I think for him, Joe Marchant, Jonathan Joseph, for him to kind of establish himself back in the international setup again as a first choice. I think for one of them, there's a huge opportunity. I think Ollie Forley coming in, playing against him a couple of weeks ago, he's so physical, and as a winger, it's nice just to see someone back themselves and go. A lot of the time people try and dance around a little bit too much, maybe, and he just backs himself regardless and tries, he's like, I'm going to run over the top of you or I'm going to run around you. So look, I think there's a lot of opportunities out there for someone to go out there and grab.
And Eddie Jones, he's never afraid of mixing it up. Addy Crossdown, Tom de Glanville, also given opportunities. I guess you probably feel as if you can do that when you've got such a strong backbone, when you look at the experience within that backline, right? And
exactly, look, he's got key people in there he knows and trusts. His Ford, his Youngs, Ford, Farrell, these type of guys are kind of his go-tos, Watsons, Elliot Daly's, and then it's putting someone new in around them, kind of giving him that support. And like you said, he's never been afraid. If someone deserves a shot or playing on form, then yeah, why not back them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting to hear all of that, Robbo. You're going to be back here next week. Thank you so much for everyone that's joined us live on Facebook today for O2 Inside Live. International Rugby is back at HQ at Twickenham Stadium. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for all of your feedback and for your questions. Take care, and we'll see you again very soon.
Yes,